The happy union of these states is a wonder, their constitution a miracle, their example the hope of liberty throughout the world. James Madison. Hello, fifth graders, it's me, Stefan, and I'm finally back to read you guys another story. Today, I'm reading you the story of the Constitution, We the People. When 1787 began, our young country was in turmoil. The central government was unable to pay off debts. There was armed insurrection in Massachusetts, and foreign governments were taking advantage of our weakness. The question of the hour, James Madison wrote, was whether the American experiment was to be a blessing to the world or to blast forever the hopes which the Republican cause has inspired. The framers of the Constitution made it a blessing, creating a new and stronger American Union and flying in the face of the prevailing wisdom as they did so. In the 18th century, representative government in a nation of vast scale was thought impossible, a recipe for chaos and confusion. But an extended republic based on popular sovereignty was exactly what the Constitution created in Philadelphia in the summer of 1787 envisaged. The government based on it now has endured for 220 years. The story of our founding document is an important one for our children to know. It is a tale of persistence as delegates kept on despite obstacles that the times made their task seem impossible. It is a tale of creativity, with the delegates providing the framework for the government entirely new. It is also the story that makes clear there was nothing inevitable about the Constitution that emerged from the Philadelphia Convention. History might have gone otherwise, but for the framers' genius, and we should be grateful for James Madison, George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, and the others who gathered at Philadelphia. We should be grateful as well for the men and women such as Frederick Douglass, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and Martin Luther King Jr., who in later centuries would take up the work of the founders, making the Union formed in 1787 the more perfect one we know today. Astride his favorite horse, Nelson, General George Washington looked on as thousands of British soldiers marched out from Yorktown, Virginia, to lay down their arms. It was October 19th, 1781, and America, with help from France, had just won the battle that would end the Revolutionary War. For the British, the loss was a shock. Theirs was the mightiest army in the world, and they had thought it impossible that the Americans could defeat them. According to tradition, the soldiers marching out of Yorktown to surrender played the song called "The World Turned Upside Down." For citizens of our country, living on a vast and bountiful continent, it seemed a new age was dawning. A free and independent America would surely prosper and become a great and mighty nation. The citizens of America are from this period to be considered as the actors on the most conspicuous theater, which seems to be peculiarly designated by Providence for the display of human greatness and felicity. George Washington. But over the next several years, trouble became apparent. America had adopted rules for governing called the Articles of Confederation. They didn't work very well. Congress, which was supposed to be in charge of the Confederation, or Union, of states, did not have enough power. It could not prevent states from printing their own money. It could not help get them to defend America or pay off debts from the Revolutionary War. Other countries, sensing the weakness of the United States, took advantage. The British refused to move out of the military posts they were supposed to give up after the Revolutionary War. In Massachusetts, farmers who couldn't pay their debts rose up against the government. When they tried to seize a building in Springfield where guns and ammunition were kept, militia fired on them. Americans were killing Americans. Was our country, which had so recently won its independence, now going to come apart? I am mortified beyond expression when I view the clouds which have spread over the brightest morn that ever dawned upon any country. George Washington. All right, kids, that is the end of part 2. That is the end of part 1. All right, kids, that is the end of part 1. I want you to go over and meet me at part 2, okay? See ya.